Modular Nerds. My name is Mamir.
And I'm still Lennox.
Always. We are continuing with our anime podcast here. So, last we left off, I kind of hinted at kind of the differences between sub and dub of like when they change dialogue. It can sometimes be pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know where I'm going with this or not, but
I am going to guess that you are going to talk about ghost stories.
nope. It's actually something that you mentioned earlier, Death Note.
Oh yeah, they did.
One of the like really funny lines in Death Note in the English version, in the dub version, that I think about, quite frankly, too often. So when he's like first like writing in the Death Note, or like writing out like was it his plan or something like that, I can't remember exactly, but he's eating chips while he's doing it, and he's like, and I take a potato chip and I eat it. And it's like, oh, it's so dumb, but it's so funny too. Like, it's just when they do translations, they have to try and find something that like fits, but sometimes you just can't. So like they'll kind of like come up with like new dialogue, or they'll like change it up. And you see that again with like it has to kind of fit the mouth movement. So something can be said like really long in Japanese, and then all of a sudden it's like short in English, so they have to fill it with something to kind of like get it to match like the mouth movements and everything, so that creates some more writing that happens.
Right.
So then you
it's
get
not
like
always
really,
a one for one.
Yeah, you get some really hilarious lines out of it, or sometimes you can get some pretty emotional stuff too. Like they might change some of the dialogue a little bit, where it's like it feels better the way that it can be explained, probably because, I mean, we're native English speakers, so it's like it feels more genuine, or like it connects better with some of the phrases that they might use, or like how they say things. That kind of just resonates better for like native English speakers.
Right. Because it's like, hey, if we're going to change this anyway, we might as well change it to what we think our audience will like better.
Yeah. Like we have our own turns of phrases here in America, and I'm sure like over in the UK, like during some of their dubs that come out of like America, they're probably like, okay, well, I don't really understand it, even though they are like native English. So, it might not hit everywhere the same way. But then, of course, like you have in the original writing in a lot of these shows, phrases that don't really make sense to us. We might read it in the subtitles or whatever. They might have to change it so it kind of makes sense to us, or like they're like, okay, well, this is close to what they mean. It might not be the exact translation. It just hits different with how they say it. Like, it might connect better for them with the way that it's said, and then us reading it, it doesn't seem right, like if we did the exact translation. So they might even change some of the translation a little bit to kind of fit the mood. They'll get it as close as they can, but they're like, okay, well, this is what it's trying to convey, so this is what we'll say.
Right, and I was saying before, translation isn't always like a one-for-one deal, and it's not just like an excuse for the lazy either, but it's like sometimes it is more art than science. Like, there's not like a direct like letter-for-letter translation. Sometimes the word choice really matters, or it's like there's context with like the tone of voice they're using, or how they're saying something that it's easier to convey if you're going to translate it, or maybe if you want to add an extra line of dialogue there. Because again, it's like you're basically having to re-record all these lines anyway. you might as well put in something if you think it's going to work better for your audience specific.
Yeah. So, and that kind of brings me back to, again, like I said before, like, some of these American voice actors, I really love finding all the, like, other shows or games or stuff that they might be in. One of my favorites, absolute favorite, Matthew Mercer. He's the DM for Critical Role, and he voices, like, so many characters in, like, animes and games, and that is one of the big reasons why I really like the English version, like the dub version of Attack on Titan, is mostly because of Matthew Mercer.
Oh yeah, and yeah, there's a lot out of like really talented voice actors. Like some of them are like people who are like a little bit more mainstream Hollywood, but other ones are like very anime specific. Like I think I mentioned him briefly earlier, but Johnny Bosch, I think I'm pronouncing his last name correctly there. He does a lot of really good voice acting roles for popular characters, and a lot of people who like get into like the who's recording this yada yada of a lot of their favorite anime will recognize his name because he just does such a great job. And I think he also played one of the Power Rangers back in his early acting career before he got into voice acting. I think he played like one of the Power Rangers. I can't remember which season it was. Early Power Rangers was a lot, guys. Give me a break on this one. I can't remember which exact Ranger he was, and it's been a long time. But I do remember someone saying it's like, yeah, he was a Power Ranger, and I was like, oh, no wonder he's very good at reading dramatically.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, speaking of Power Rangers, it's not really like obviously it's not anime. But it is, like, part of that whole, like, Japanese culture. I don't know if it was actually just Japanese or if it came from, like, China. I don't know which Asian country it comes from, but...
There's a Japanese Sentai is where a lot of it initially comes from, and a lot of the stuff got carried over to the U.S. They actually reused, like, a lot of the straight-up footage.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to mention, is that it's, like, they took the actual... like actors in the suits and just dubbed over like the lines that they would use, because they would use the same footage of like the Rangers with their helmets on as they would in the original like show, but when they brought it over they had to dub over lines because obviously like the lines are in Japanese or whatever and we don't know what they're saying, so they started getting voice actors. And then like when the Rangers would have their helmets off, they were different people, but like when they had their helmets on and we couldn't see their faces or anything, a lot of that was the original like footage.
Yeah, whenever they could get away with it, they would just sub in the original Japanese Sentai footage, which someone else had already created and already filmed all the choreography and the explosions for. And then they would just import that, and they're like, all right, our job is to then film the stuff around it to make this scene work.
Yeah, and that was another show that I wasn't allowed to watch after a little while because I kicked my sister in the head while we were playing Power Rangers. And then they were like, okay, no more Power Rangers.
Yeah, more than one kid suffered in life because they decided to be a Power Ranger and kick their friend in the head yelling, "Hiya!"
Yeah, I wanted to be a Power Ranger, and my sister was the bad guy.
It wasn't for every kid, but it happened enough that a lot of parents got leery of the idea of letting their kids watch Power Rangers.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit too, since you brought up Power Rangers. I was like, yeah, well they did like dub over like a lot of that stuff too, because they use the original footage.
Oh yeah. So while we're talking though about conveying different stuff through dub and sub and stuff like that, I have to bring up a wonderful example of this. It is an anime that is so generic and lame, but it is made fantastic just because the English dub actors that they hired just went crazy with it. So there's this anime called Ghost Stories, which came from Japan. Got an older art style. They had a lower budget, the writing was kind of generic, the story was kind of generic, and basically they're like, here, take this. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys, it's kind of half-assed. Like, I tried watching like the undubbed version, and I'm just like, yeah, this might have been popular like maybe late 90s, early 2000s, when there wasn't as much going on. I think it's because there was like an economic crisis at the time, and so anime was kind of limited. But it's like, it's not great. Like, no one's gonna remember this anime and be like, I enjoyed this a lot. So they gave it to like the American counterpart studio, and then they asked them if they could change some stuff, and the Japanese studio was like, yeah, you have to keep the characters' names, you have to keep how they defeat the ghost in the story, because it's true to the folklore or something. I think they have like maybe one other stipulation, but as long as you keep like these 2 or 3 core mechanics or two core tenets of the show, you can change everything else. It's fine. And so then the American actors just improv'd so much of their dialogue, and then the writers would go crazy with it too. They turned like one girl into like this girl. She had been in like rehab and found Jesus, and she's like, I think she's like a middle school girl, and she's like, yeah, I was in rehab. It was all the cocaine. Just like talking about all this stuff and just going crazy. There's like these other lines too where it's like they don't have dialogue for the little brother character, so they just make him sometimes just babble incoherently because his mouth is moving, but they don't have anything constructive for him to say. So once in a while, the kid's got to be like 8 or 9 years old, but he'll open his mouth and just go yeah, and then his sister will turn and be like, "Good God, I always knew you were retarded." It's just so out of left field.
Some of those lines in that show are like way out of pocket. You're like, whoa, like I wasn't expecting that. Like I haven't seen it, but I've seen enough clips of it, of like the lines in that show, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's ridiculous.
If anyone is remotely interested, you can watch so many compilations on YouTube about people's favorite moments from like different episodes. Like, just type in Ghost Stories English dub compilation, and I guarantee you'll get like 50 videos. You'll enjoy most of them, or probably all of them actually, and it's just all dialogue from the show, the English dub, and it's like you said, it's just all out of pocket stuff. It's like the voice actors walked into work and were like, today I've chosen chaos. And they they go with the most off the wall stuff they can get away with.
That's like, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say a bunch of it we probably can't repeat on this podcast. Just because the video will get taken down.
I might have to bleep out the other word that you use just because of YouTube. But
freaking YouTube.
I'll say I don't care. A lot of people don't care, but YouTube might care. But
we'll see.
But yeah, that kind of makes me think of like a lot of the bloopers that you'll see for like animation, because sometimes shows will put stuff out there like that too. Like they'll do, I think I've seen bloopers of like Sword Art, which make me think of a lot of the what do you call it, what did you have me watch again,
which one? I had you watch a couple things.
The Sword Art stuff. The
Sword Art Abridged?
Yeah, Abridged. That's what I couldn't think of the word. It makes me like think of the abridged stuff with some of the like bloopers that I've seen. And then there's been like other like animes that have like little bloopers and stuff they're pretty funny to kind of like try and look up. It's almost like when you see like Pixar like do like blooper scenes. You know, they go like full like animation for the bloopers and everything. It's fun when companies will do stuff like that. So like when it happens with anime stuff, like it's pretty fun because it's like, whoa, that character would never say anything like that, and it makes me think of like the abridged stuff.
The whole series is basically one giant it's like if you were thinking they were recording like the serious like ghost investigation story thing, but then like they made bloopers and the actors were just having fun and rolling with it for a minute, just because like someone forgot their line and then would roll with something stupid and everyone would laugh haha a few seconds later. It's like, okay, now do it for real. No, the whole series was dubbed in what is basically one giant blooper reel, and it's funny the whole way through. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's very enjoyable. That's all. The rest of what I'll say about it. It's just a funny little thing. I think you can watch it on Prime right now, but you can watch the compilations on YouTube, and it's so good. Just the idea that they took what would otherwise be a completely forgettable, I don't care anime, and they were just like, let's just have fun with this. And then they did, and they made something fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so entertaining.
Let's see. So what are some other quick little topics? We got a little bit of time left before this last episode here.
Before we round out this recording session, yeah. Well, I have a recommendation list, and I'm curious if any of these will resonate with you if I briefly describe them.
Okay.
Okay, have you ever seen Black Lagoon?
No, but it is on my list already.
My guy, you gotta watch Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon is like it's like a city in Thailand. It takes place in a city in Thailand. I think it's in Thailand, but anyway, yeah, it's which basically it's like a giant crime central city, and you get this generic Japanese businessman who is going by the name Rock, which is a fantastic nickname. I don't know why he's not more stoked to be just known as Rock to everybody he talks to. But it's they're doing like all these illegal activities and running all these like courier missions for different gangs and organizations. You meet the Russian mob, you meet the Chinese triads, you meet with cartels, and there's all these like these crazy other elements going into it, including at one point a maid from South America who is basically the frickin' Terminator because she thinks the main characters have kidnapped the young boy that she has been employed to serve. And it's just what they literally have a Terminator scene where she's chasing after them, doing the Terminator 2 T-1000 run, and then she jumps on the back and is like climbing up the car chasing them, and it's just, oh no, drive faster.
Let's see. One of the other ones that I want to start watching is The Rising of the Shield Hero.
Oh my god, yes, watch it. Watch that.
I know we've talked about it a little bit, so that's one of the like top next ones on my list. Fairy Tail is another one.
Never got too much into Fairy Tail. It just didn't hook with me. I know some people defend Fairy Tail very vigorously, but it just didn't click with me. Maybe I'll try it again someday, but the first couple episodes just didn't do it for me.
Let's see. What are some other ones that are like top like next on my list?
The thing with there's a trope that you might hear a good bit when you're in the anime community these days about watch the first 3 episodes of an anime to know whether or not it's good, and if it hasn't hooked you after 3 episodes, you'll know it's trash. But stick around for 3 episodes, basically an hour of watching, and so there's this there's another anime. It's I think you've probably heard about it, Madoka Magica.
I don't think so.
So it is a magic girl anime on the surface, like transformation, yada yada. A lot of it's like it's a little bit meta with some of its. It's meant to be like a commentary on like the magical girl franchise of anime, where it's just like cute girl transforms into cute outfit and then fights bad guys and usually defeats them with love and the power of friendship.
Okay.
Like it's very generic, meant for kids entertainment for folks listening to. Like that's what it's making fun of. Or like Sailor Moon is like the archetype for it, where it's like, like I'll defeat you with like by the power of the moon. I will deflate my enemies.
Yeah, Sailor Moon, pretty much like as far as I know, like OG magical girl.
Yes, OG magical girl. But people will still stand by it because it does have entertainment value behind it. Like it's not just trash. It's like there's actually something to it. Madoka Magica is a little bit of a new take on it, where I am pretty sure that it is the origin of this new phrase or this new idea of watch the first 3 episodes. Because when you hit the 3rd episode of Madoka Magica, you're like, oh, this is not the generic story I thought it was. This is actually something completely different, and it hooks you. Like there's just a big plot hook in the third episode where like all the other mysteries and everything else, it's like maybe it was percolating in the back of your mind there for a little bit, but now that you've seen episode 3, you're like, oh no, I got to see where this goes. I got to see the rest of this.
A couple other like ones that I've seen that I've heard were pretty decent. I don't know for sure because I don't really know much about them. But our Gantz, it's like Gantz.
Oh yeah, Gantz.
And then Berserk. I think one of those like PewDiePie talked about years ago, which kind of like made me like kind of see them like around, like people were talking about them a lot more or whatever. So then I was like, okay, let me add them to my list. So I kind of want to see those, see what they're about. They looked interesting. And like Tokyo Ghoul, that's another one that I want to start watching. That one seems a little kind of out there in some spots, but also like I've heard is pretty good. So
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's like a little off the wall about Tokyo Ghoul. A lot of it basically being like the season, like how the seasons are compiled and how like the like spin-offs are done is a little bit wacky. It's hard to follow is what my impression is, because I had a friend once try to explain Tokyo Ghoul to me, and I was asking him when we got far enough into the conversation, like, well, what is like this other season stuff? And he's like, so that's where the whole thing switches, and then we do this instead. And I'm just like, wait, why are we switching? Like, why not just progress from story from A to B to C? And it's like, no, we go from A to B to C1 to D4, and it's just like, what the? We're not playing 3-dimensional chess while watching an anime, man. Like, come on.
I will say for other people who like less action and more cutesy, Nekopara was recommended to me by somebody, and I was like, okay, like we'll see. And it is definitely like a cutesy anime. It's like cat girls who live in this world, and they work at like a bakery, and that's basically the gist of it. I mean, there's like other little bits here and there of like some story and like character development type stuff, but not like anything major. It really is kind of like your slice of life type of deal, where it's like we're just going through the days and, you know, little misadventures that happen throughout the day or whatever. But it is like a very cutesy anime if people would rather enjoy watching stuff like that instead of like all the magic or the action or the drama or whatever. If you just want something nice and relaxing to watch, like that's one that I did watch, and I was like, okay, I see the appeal. Like, it's a little cutesy.
Yeah, it's part of like that anime genre where it's like, you know, watch cute girls do cute things, and that will basically carry the entire premise of your show. It's how you get shows like Blue Azure or Azure Blue. I think I can't remember how
I feel like I've heard of what you're talking about.
Or Girls und Panzer, where basically like, you know, you get a bunch of cute girls who basically are a tank crew, and then they go into battle as a tank crew, and it's definitely more for like a cutesy element. Like you watch a bunch of girls man a T-38 as they fight generic enemies or charge through a battlefield, and it's just like, okay, this is very weird, but somehow it's still cute, because again, it's cute girls doing cute things. I think there's one that they just straight up did High School Battleship or something like that, where it was you get a bunch of a bunch of cute high school girls manning, like being the crew of a warship. And having actually been in the Navy and watching them do this stuff, I laughed very hard, and I was just like sighing and like face palming a lot, because I was watching them do like all these tasks that I would normally see actually done in real life by grown ass men who are like, it's just like, hey, I need you to check that torpedo tube or whatever. It's like, okay, it's night watch. We need the bridge crew up there to douse a lot of the lights. Turn on the red lights. hey, go wake up the night watchman or whatever for shift change in a little bit, and then you're seeing it all done by like these anime trope cute girls, and you're just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, you're like, I did this job with a bunch of like tired men, and now I'm seeing like a whole opposite side of this.
It's weird. It has that surreal moment for me, but it's also like it's decent on the surface on its own. Like, you know, again, it's the anime trope of cute girls doing cute things, and it's hard to lose money with that. It's a good sales premise for a lot of these anime and manga. So, you know, I can't say I blame them. If it makes money, it works. So, you know, good for you guys.
Yeah, and another like really kind of like humorous anime, I should say. Don't Hurt Me, My Healer. I know I've told you about this one before.
Oh, you have, yeah.
It's like the guy, he doesn't like reveal his face. He's in like full armor all the time, and he's trying to be like a great adventurer, and he's like in his 30s or something like that, and then he meets like this healer who's like a cutesy like elf chick, but she thinks so highly of herself. She says like a lot of things of like, oh, I saved you, now you have to praise me forever, you know. And he's like, you didn't do anything, you made the situation worse. And she's just like, so what I'm hearing is you want me to do even more for you? How selfish, you know. And it's like all this stuff, like the dynamic between the two of them is pretty funny, and a lot of the jokes in that show are pretty good. So if you want a good laugh, I think that one's like another like 12 episodes long or whatever.
First off, there's two that I want to recommend to you real quick. For comedy, I want to recommend Konosuba, which is another like sort of isekai anime, but it is such a comedy. It's fantastic, like top shelf comedy, no question. If you're looking for something a little bit shorter to watch, wait, have you seen Konosuba, by the way?
I don't think so. That's let's see, I got it here on my list. I think God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. Is that?
I think that's the
Konosuba. Yeah, it's on my list, but it doesn't look like I've seen any of it yet.
So on the surface, it's a little hard to like get into, but trust me, it's very entertaining. With like a lot of the humor is just like so stupid, and like you just can't help but laugh at it. Like it takes a minute to get into, and like but then you're really rooting for these characters with how dumb they are, and like they're not bad people, they're not particularly stupid, but it's like they're doing the best they can, and it's just not their fault that it doesn't work out as well each time. Like one of the jokes, it plays on the idea of like, you know, a lot of like, you know, the pervy or the ecchi service, the pervy-ness of some anime is like, oh look, this girl wearing a short skirt like jumped or whatever, and you got to see her underwear for a second. But in Konosuba, they play on that joke where one of the characters, she's like, hey, yeah, I didn't want anyone to be able to see my underwear by accident, so instead I made it transparent. So good for them, they won't be able to see my underwear now. And it's like, you solve the problem, but you completely miss the point at the same time, which is like so intrinsic to her character. Like she completely misses the point. Like she goes to register as an adventurer, and she has like these incredible stats and skills because technically speaking, she's a goddess, and she's like top level skills, and she's like, oh yeah, the best, yada yada, all this. But then you realize that she has no idea how to like do stuff for herself or to make money. So it's like, congratulations, you got a high-ranking position with the Adventurer Guild, but you can't do anything with it because you have no ability to make money for yourself. It's a case of always shooting for or like bragging about something but missing the point, or solving the problem but creating an entirely new problem at the same time.
Yeah. Another one that I would like to start that I've heard is pretty good is Dr. Stone.
That's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one.
Yeah, it's very like science. Like he's kind of like this like genius, like scientist kid type deal. As far as I know.
I love the fact that you just said science, because it's like that joke is actually what a lot of people who watch the show like repeat. It's like they'll just something will happen and they'll just go, science! I've heard that so many times, and not even just from like a specific group of people. It's like everybody who watches that show will sooner or later just yell science. And as far as I know, they don't even really yell that in the show, like not just like the word on itself. Like a lot of the time, it's just something will happen, or he'll solve a problem with the power of science, and then people just go science.
Yeah. So, all right. Any last one that you want to throw out there?
Yes. I really wanted to throw this one in. I got distracted by talking about Konosuba because I forgot how freaking funny that is. There's so many good ones, man. But I'd say if I had to recommend one last one, I would recommend a movie because it's much shorter, so you don't have to watch a whole franchise. It's just one movie. It's called Summer Wars. It is I can't remember what streaming platform it's on now, but it's called Summer Wars, and basically it's this kid who's like a tech support guy and sort of like on his own, like during the summer while he's in high school. This girl is like, hey, look, I promised my family they could meet a boyfriend that I made up, and I need one of you, like, I need you to follow me up to visit my family for a day or two to, like, pretend to be my boyfriend or whatever. And so it's like this whole thing, and then that's the premise for how, like, it gets introduced to this, and, like, she introduces everyone to, like, she introduces the character to, like, her huge family, who are all, like, these different archetypes, and it's one of the things that I really like about it too, because it calls back to a lot of family gatherings that I had when I was younger. And I'm sure that there are some people listening who might understand this one too. If you come from like a big family or have like big social gatherings when you were younger, like there's always like that one parent who had to hang near a phone to hear from another family member. There's always like that one, like maybe someone's grandma who's like running the kitchen and being like, we need to organize this, we need to do this, and she's like recruiting like her daughters or like some other people idling around the house. There's a couple kids running around being irrelevant or irreverent, I should say. Not these kids don't matter.
Yeah, they're being irrelevant.
These kids don't matter.
I don't even know why I mentioned them.
Who even talks about them? There's the one goofy cousin. There's another one who is way too serious about his job. There's the grumpy old man. Like there's all these like family archetypes going on, and it's all set behind this big sort of like crisis that's going on with this made up company in the movie that's like a combination between VR chat and Google that's been infiltrated by a virus, and they sort of have to like the tech support guy ends up getting roped into like this crisis that's going on with fighting the virus that's infiltrated it. And it's like it makes more sense in like the context. I'm probably doing a bad job of explaining it, but it makes more sense in context of the actual movie itself. But it's a one-off movie, and it's a very good premise about like talking about like family and sort of like, you know, like fighting a problem and stuff. And like there's all these like these wacky characters going on where it's like even if like you don't know these characters, like there's not enough time to go into everyone specifically, you recognize the archetype. Like again, like the grandma running the kitchen, that one aunt who's like, I don't know, like she's hanging out near the phone or something, or the little kids running around until dinner's ready, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, and it's like you sort of get like this. It's like, oh yeah, this is like a full family gathering type deal going on right now. It's really cool to watch, I think, and it's got a lot of cool visuals, and none of the fighting really happens in like the air quotes physical world that they're all living in, but there's like some cool fight scenes that happen in like the virtual world that they're accessing and stuff like that, and it's very entertaining to watch. Like if you look up a picture of it, I'm sure you'll see like a picture of like a kung fu rabbit, and it's like, yeah, that's part of the digital kung fu that you see happening later on in the movie. It's very entertaining. It's just if you don't have the time to watch a full series, or you don't want to get into a full series, this is a one-off movie. You watch it, you're done. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. Hour and a half, I think, is closer to what it is. I don't have the exact runtime in front of me, but yeah, it's like an hour and a half long, 2 hours tops, and it's an entertaining film.
Okay, well, I will check it out. I'll add it to my list of stuff. And anybody else out there, if you have any like cool recommendations for any anime, and if you liked any of the stuff that we talked about, or if you want to see any of the ones that we recommended, and let us know what you think about them too.
real quick, there's just so much we didn't talk about that we're definitely like revisiting this topic. Like we can revisit this later and like talk about either a specific anime and make like a whole episode just about that, or we could like just talk about like another broad anime topic in general, or update each other on our watch list, for example. Like it's like, where are you at in your watch list?
Yeah, if that's something people want to see, let us know. Because yeah, like he said, there's a lot. I mean, anime has been around for a long time. There's so much coming out all the time, and there's a lot to cover in all of it. The different types of genres, all that. So, like I said, if you guys got any recommendations or anything, let us know. And let us know if you watched any of the ones that we recommended. And don't forget to check out the merch shop. Who knows, maybe we'll create some cool limited edition like anime style designs for something. I don't know. I kind of want to start doing some weird things with the merch. Like there are some limited edition stuff in there. But
I want it on the record right now that if either one of us is getting turned into a cute anime girl for the sake of selling merchandise, it's absolutely going to be Mimir.
No.
Nope, it's declared. I've declared it right now. It's going to happen.
Although, if you've seen Game Grumps, they have, I think it's called Game Gyaru or whatever. It's like their alternate personas, and they are like anime chicks. The way that they designed those are pretty cool. Like it matches their personalities and everything, and I'll have to show that to you.
You'll have to show that to me at some point. But just you should be afraid because I'm already looking up character designs for you for your waifu persona here.
All right, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the jazz, and we will see you next time.
Take care, guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.